think we are live, and it's 11:15. I'm so excited that I'm on time, and I've gotten so much done this morning, and I can't wait to tell you about it. So, first of all, Ohayo gozaimasu. And while we wait for people to come on, usually I refer you back to the episode where I explain why I say Ohayo gozaimasu. But it's a Japanese word, and Sumie Hasegawa, who did the beautiful illustrations in Botanical Shakespeare, which is right there. Look at that. Somebody suggested I put it behind me so I don't keep forgetting to say it. But Sumie Hasegawa is Japanese. And so Ohayo gozaimasu is a Japanese term for good morning, but also it covers any time that you're starting work, even if it's midnight. So it's a sort of a general, kind of like aloha, maybe. I'm thinking of a friend of mine who just moved to Hawaii. Anyway, we have something different for you today. And Hannah is off doing her teaching situation, and we will have her back next week. But I was thinking about all the different kinds of healing. And we call this Shakespeare Therapy. Therapy is a Greek word, originated in Greek, ministering to through healing, through medicinal healing. And so in a way, Shakespeare Therapy, Herbal Healing, or Herbal Healing, is kind of a redundant. But I was thinking about all the different ways that we heal, and I was able to take a walk this morning before doing this, and I had the most amazing time. I found this little garden, and I was thinking about how we should think about stimulating our five senses the first moment we get up in the morning, which is not to stress, because so many people say, this only takes 10 minutes a day, that only takes 10 minutes a day. And the next thing you know, your whole day is taken up with things that only take 10 minutes a day. So not to stress, but just to think about a little more consciously. And the reason that I give you a line of the week is for the brain, to sharpen the brain, to sharpen the memory, and to get the synapses connecting. We know that Shakespeare and Wordsworth especially have beneficial brain functions, okay? Or help are beneficial to brain's functioning. Gosh, you would wonder if mine is working this morning. Anyway, so I was thinking about that. So the line of the week, I had a little trouble figuring out the line of the week to this week, and I will tell you why in a minute. But first of all, we're going to do our crush and sniff that we started last week. This is the mint from I got it from Whole Foods, and read another article this week about scientific studies say just breathing in the smell of mint helps calm the system. And we talked a couple of episodes ago about scent and all the different things different scents will do for the physical system. So that's your sense. And go look out the window. Again, I'm not to barrage you with scientific studies this morning, but just looking out the window at nature helps the physical systems, helps the immune system. Getting outside, hug a tree, feel the dirt under your toes. Sing a song, pet your pet, touch a flower, crushing and sniffing. You got two right there, touch and smell and seeing. So just more consciously, because what we are going for, and again, back to the line of the week, is wisdom, working from wisdom, not making decisions or opinions or actions, reactions especially, from a clench point, but from a place of wisdom. So breathe. We know that's so good for you. Drink water. I showed the other week how just putting some water in this dead plant revived it. So think of what it can do for you. And working from wisdom, stimulating the five senses consciously, Shakespeare anchors you in wisdom, and the herbs anchor you in healing. And that's how we're going to get through tough times, easy times, any times. So back to finding the word of the week. Jennifer is here. So we have a special guest, Jennifer Ratcliffe, who I met at the Medieval and Renaissance Conference, which usually takes place every year in May in Kalamazoo. I got a pal in Kalamazoo, zoo. So I met a pal in Kalamazoo. So anyway, she does medieval and Renaissance dyeing. So we're going to just talk to her about how that works and how you do that from your things you got laying around the house, because that's what they did. And for the line of the week, I was thinking, I was looking at so everybody thinks that Shakespeare, doctors, I say this at the beginning of the book, doctors think Shakespeare was a medical doctor. Lawyers think he was a lawyer. Actors think he was an actor, because there's so much in there. But nobody, turns out, has said they think Shakespeare was a garment worker. There's not a lot about dyeing, and there's a lot about garments and fashion, the glass of fashion and the mold of form from Hamlet. And I was trying to figure out, so the dyeing, specifically dyeing, he talks about dyeing a white rose to red in the War of the Roses plays. I did a sonnet for Melinda Hall's Sonnet Slam next week, where I look like an egg, by the way, just warning you. And I talked about the purple pride, and he talks about purple pride, which in my lady's veins, I don't have it up, in my lady's veins, you have too grossly dyed. And I used this purple flower, which is not a violet. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. Which is not a violet, because I couldn't find any violets anywhere. But anyway, and that line refers to the height of beauty was seeing veins coming through. The skin is so translucent and transparent that you can see the blue or purple veins in the skin. And that was considered really beautiful. Fashions change. And so I was thinking, there really wasn't a lot about dyeing per se, and yet it was so exciting when new colors came in. They had a kind of a Pantone color of the year situation. And, I remember what Jane Lawson did when beaver was a big color one year, and maidenhair and things like that. And so interesting. So carnation and peach were also big colors at a certain point. There's a guy, who's it? Thomas. His name is Thomas. I always call him Bob. Oh, Francis Drake's younger brother, Thomas, has this whole painting with him, painted in a carnation suit with carnations in the corner. So anyway, Shakespeare only mentions carnation as far as the color, except in Winter's Tale. So that's a different talk. And peach, only the color. But in Queen Elizabeth's gift rolls, which I talked a little bit about last week, she gets sent carnation clothes all the time. Sleeves, kirtles, plackets, all these different things of the carnation color, because carnation was a hot color. So people were madly dyeing things carnation. So we're going to talk to Jennifer she's a textile artisan. We're going to talk to her about how to dye these clothes. And I'm just going to say the line of the week is an interesting one. It's from Sonnet 111. And I only know the end of it, so I'm going to get the beginning. Almost thence, so slightly weird word, almost thence my nature is subdued to what it works in, like the dyer's hand. My nature is subdued to what it works in, like the dyer's hand. And the reason I chose that, one, people think that this poet, Edward Dyer, who gave her a lot of carnation clothes, actually, Queen Elizabeth, it's a little weird. I have to look into that. I haven't, so people say, oh, he wrote Shakespeare because it says Dyer's hand in this one sonnet. And a lot of times in Shakespeare research, people take one line and extrapolate it into this huge thing. Now, I haven't read that theory, and I do try to read all of them so that I know what everybody's talking about, because I see so many people form opinions without having read one thing about it. And I don't want to be that person. So I haven't read the Dyer theory, however. But here he's talking about, what are you steeped in? And this is what stimulated most of this idea. What are you steeped in? I read a Pablo Picasso quote this morning about, yes, the genius, I'm paraphrasing, yes, the genius will visit you, but you have to be working at it. And I was thinking about Elizabeth Gilbert's brilliant TED Talk about creativity and genius, and how, she says she works like a mule. And when the genius, people aren't geniuses, the genius visits you. So you can't kind of like sit down and nail him to the table or her to the table, and go, okay, we're working together today. It comes when it comes. You just have to be ready. So you have to be steeped in the thing that you want the genius to visit you about. So what are you steeped in every day? We get steeped in the social media. I talked about the Social Dilemma movie a couple episodes ago. What are you steeped in? So my nature is subdued to what it works in, like the dyer's hand. And now we're going to talk to the real dyer, Jennifer Ratcliffe. I'm so excited. We're also thinking about maybe doing a Zoom workshop on this after Thanksgiving. And Jennifer, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, I'm so excited. So we've crushed and sniffed. I hope you sniffed something this morning.
Absolutely.
Good. And had some water and breathed.
Yeah.
And so as I was saying, Jennifer, I met her at the medieval and Renaissance. So would you say that the dyeing practices are more medieval or Renaissance, or they just didn't change and so it's the same?
The dyeing practices evolved. They were, in the medieval period, early medieval period, they were learning about the various mordants and the colors that they could achieve. And by the Renaissance period, they had learned where to get their dyes, how to import the dyes and the mordants that they needed. So and maybe even some new colors came into. Especially,
what is a mordant? Can you tell us what a mordant is?
Sure, absolutely. A mordant is what, in layman's terms, it's like a fixative. For natural dyeing, if you don't have a mordant, or if you don't put a fixative onto your yarn fabric, the color won't stay. The color will just fade away or wash away. But a mordant are all natural salt: alum, tin, chrome. Well, chrome's too late. Alum, tin, copper, iron are your four basic. And those salts, when they seep into the fibers, they stay there and they act sort of like glue to the molecules of the color, so that when you put your yarn into the dye bath, the color sticks basically to those molecules of the salt, and then you take your yarn out and poof, it's a color.
So this is a naive question, but does that mean there are metals in the dyed clothes?
Salt. They're metal
salts.
But yeah, I guess yes. Metal salts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what got you into doing this in the first place? How did you get attracted to dyeing in
I started like way long time ago. I spent a lot of my younger years in the hospital, so my mom taught me how to do everything. Knit, to like weave on little bead looms, and so textiles were always to sew, and they were always a part of my childhood. And as I grew, I got more into sewing and fashion and textiles. And then I got into, golly, I want to spin my own yarn, because then I can have, more control. And then why use chemical dyes when I can live on a farm and I have acres and acres full of weed, flowers, and things that I can learn to naturally dye my yarn and my fabric. And it's just mushrooms from there.
Mushrooms, we love that. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. What are you steeped in? She was steeped in all this stuff, and then the interest just grew where it wanted to go. And it's one of the things that I talk about a lot. I especially with kids, like give them a huge amount of experience so they can see what sticks and what they want to be steeped in and where those tendrils will grow. So what are you going to talk to us about today from the Shakespeare plants? What can we dye with?
Well, actually, when I looked at the plants, there's tons of things we can dye with. But I think the first thing to start with, and the easiest thing that everybody's familiar with, are your very basic onions and the onion skins, really. It's the onion skins that we get the color from. And
they seem so insubstantial. They seem so papery and nothing.
Yep, and you just put them up. What we do is we put them in a piece of cheesecloth. We tie it up in a bag, and then we toss it into a pot of water and boil it. And in no time, 30 minutes to an hour at the most, the color comes right out of the skin and makes this beautiful golden hue. And depending on the depth of color in the skins depends on how dark or deep your color will be. For instance, this is a Vidalia onion. There's color in that. You won't get any color out of that. But your normal, everyday yellow onions, the color is just amazing. And
Do you have an example of what it does? Do you have an example, a fabric example of what it does?
Absolutely. I've got several things. And not only just dyeing with the skins, but what you're dyeing really has a lot to do with it. For instance, this beautiful golden yellow, this is onion skins. But and it's wool yarn. But so is this, which is also wool yarn. And it's just two different dye baths of onion skins, and the depth of color pulls from those onion skins. Here is some linen that they used. Of course, they wore lots and lots of linen in the medieval. That's what they wore, unless they were filthy. They wear silk. This is linen with onion skins, and here's a piece that I naturally dyed with onion skins, and then I used onion skins to do an eco dye on top of it.
What does that mean?
So I dyed the silk scarf in onion skins and made it yellow, and then I put onion skins on it. I laid it out, put onion skins on it, rolled it up, and steamed it for another hour or so. And then so the color came out of the onion skins. And the background.
It's so much more interesting than tie-dye, but you could do tie-dye with this as well, right? I mean, couldn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. And here's just another piece of silk. You can see just two different kinds of silk. One is real shiny and sparkly, and the other one is Georgette, and it just doesn't have a shiny, but they're both dyed with onion skins. So
amazing. So if you use red onions, could you get that bright red, that beautiful?
I wish.
Red one?
No, unfortunately, no. The really pretty colors that we find in nature usually don't give us a whole lot of really pretty colors. Like those red onion skins give us gray.
You're kidding.
No, I know.
Well, you really have to know you to know what you're going to get, or experiment. I love experiments. But what else could we use? I mean, can you use stuff like any herbs like mint or what gets you blue? What gets you red? If red onions don't do it.
Right. Well, there's a whole, and then for instance, red was used in Shakespearean times. Cochineal was discovered, which is a bug that grows on the apple in the southern United States and in Mexico and in Chile. And those bugs get crunched up, and you get reds like this.
Wow.
And then you can also, depending on and then you play with pH water, and you can get pink as delicate as this. And then you mix yellow, a very light yellow, with red, and here's some peach that Queen Elizabeth might have enjoyed.
Oh, yes, she loved it.
Yeah. Oh, wait, here's a better peach right here. Here it is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes, that was huge, very popular in Shakespeare's day. With men as well. There's something in Measure for Measure where this guy is going to order a peach suit. So.
Yeah, and color was fascinating. They were not as dull. The people, and mostly it's middle class, merchant class, and they were not as dull and boring as we think they were. And even the farmers and the poorer people, they would buy clothes. They would buy used clothes, and they would buy those used clothes. So,
well, I often say, like, there was a rag picker who went around and took, like, old linens and stuff, and they made paper out of it, which is why the paper lasts today. And we're very lucky about that, from a researcher point of view, from a paleographer point of view.
Yes.
But so velvet, what about velvet? Is that
yes, absolutely. Silk velvet.
Okay.
Silk velvet is absolutely dyeable. Any natural fiber can be dyed. Even some modern synthetic fibers like polyester and acrylic can be dyed using natural dyes. It's a little bit, the colors are a little more faded, and it's not as much fun. I like using all natural anyway, so I stick to the naturals.
So you boil the whatever it is, onion skins, for 30 minutes, and then you put the fabric in and swirl it around for how long? How deep you want the color?
Pretty much. First, you have to do that mortaring process, which is you put some alum in a big pot, like your spaghetti pot, and stir it around, and you put your, let's say we're a t-shirt. You put your t-shirt in, and you simmer that for an hour, and then you take it out and you boil your onion skins for half hour, 5 minutes to an hour, however deep you want color. And you put your mordanted t-shirt in the onion skin dye, and an hour later, you've got voila.
Okay, so where does one get mordants? Where does one get tin salts or whatever you're talking about?
Right. The easiest thing to do for the home dyer or for the very beginner is to use alum, which is a very natural. We use it to bake, and your dentist uses it to dry your mouth out.
Sure.
You can find it at the grocery store.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. My dad used to have alum sticks for if he had a nick from shaving,
exactly,
and to stop the bleeding, and also he was a dentist, so if you had a canker sore, you used alum sticks. So I probably still have one hanging around in my medicine cabinet somewhere. Okay, that's easy. Exactly. And so other colors, just quickly, other plants in Shakespeare that we could. What about green?
Green's a fabulous color. What I didn't find in my research was that there was no indigo mentioned anywhere, but indigo and woad were very important plants, and they were grown all over the UK and in Europe, and they were the source of blue for us. The blues were this was on silk, and this is indigo on cotton.
Ooh.
So
pretty.
And so those were first you dyed your let's say we'll use a t-shirt again. First you dyed your t-shirt with onion skins, yellow, and then you dipped it in an indigo bath, and you get these beautiful greens. Depending on the depth of your yellow, if you use, let's say, marigolds, it gives you a different kind of yellow. And the onion skins. And so depending on the yellow you use, depends on the type of green you could get. So you could get anything from, let's say, a bright grassy green to a very deep olive green.
Oh, okay.
So and so like the orange, for instance, the peach, again, that's another dye method where you have to dye your garment or your fabric yellow and then put it in a lac or nail bath.
Well, how do you get black? Could you use ebony for black? Ebony's hard to get anyway.
Yeah. Ebony could be used, but there are a lot cheaper methods too, like elder bark.
Elder bark, that's in Shakespeare.
Yes, absolutely. Elder was very highly used along with a bark that was imported from Brazil, which is called logwood. So the mixture of elder bark and logwood, which is the heart of a tree called logwood, that comes from Brazil, those using those two mixed together gives a really nice black. And also, oddly enough, there's the soot from the inside of your glass thing on top of your oil lamp. That is a beautiful black. It takes a long time to build up that soot, but you scrape it up, you clean it, and you save it. You can get some neat blacks. Blacks are expensive.
Black's more expensive. Black, I would love to do a show just on the history of black and blue, all of them, because they're such fascinating colors. Black was very prized. Queen Elizabeth's colors for a while were black and white, not all the way through her life, a common misconception, but especially early on, the moon and all that stuff, the sun and the moon. And so black was very prized. And a woman that I work on, Penelope Rich, dressed in black, a lot of decor, her rooms were all black, all that kind of stuff. So it was a very prized color to get a really deep, rich, true black. I think they had plenty of soot in the Elizabethan era.
That's true, yeah. That's good point.
Deep in soot, yeah. So we were talking about maybe doing a Zoom workshop with Jennifer after Thanksgiving. And if you save all of your Thanksgiving scraps, and for you UK folks, just save your scraps in general. And we will, we're thinking about that. If there's interest in that, please put it in the comments below, or, I'm on all 3 channels, so you can let us know if you'd be interested in a Zoom workshop on natural textile dyeing with your leftover scraps from Thanksgiving or any meal.
Italian sausage with onions and peppers uses a lot of onions, so feel free to make lots of those kinds of meals.
Okay, if you haven't even making Italian sausage. Okay, and the line of the week again. Thence my nature is subdued to what it works in, like the dyer's hand. So do your hands get yellow if you're working with onion skins? And
actually, no, they get, when I do work with indigo, they turn blue. And they last the blue, I clean the bathroom or the sinks, with bleach, and, it eventually comes off. But yeah, I turn blue.
Okay. Well, Halloween's coming up. So, if you want blue hands, do your dyeing before Thanksgiving. Anyway, I'm doing what I did last week too. I'm going to do the oracle cards. We'll go off here and then I'll come right back on in a few minutes and do the Shakespeare oracle cards and the tree oracle cards. I'm not going to wait till noon anymore. Just going to, get it out there. So Jennifer, thank you so much. And I look forward to doing a workshop. That would be so awesome.
I would love to. I hope there are people out there that would love to join us, and we can have a lot of fun. It won't take too long.
Great. Have a great week, everybody. 5 senses. Work with your wisdom.
Thanks.